Hi guys, today I'm going to describe you very quickly and high level how Kerberos authentication is working. I try to keep it very simple. I try to explain with very simple flow. So we are not going to go in any details, but I hope this can clarify the protocol, the Kerberos protocol. So let's start from here. Let's see, we have here already in this diagram the domain controller with the keys, because domain controller contains the username and the keys for all the accounts part of the real M. The green one is dedicated for the domain controller. The red one, as you can imagine, is the private key for the client, and the blue one is for the server. The scenario here we would like to cover is the client is needed to connect to the file server. Can be also Azure file, for example, when it's integrated in the Active Directory. And then we see how the client connect to domain controller, pick the ticket, and then can authenticate against the Azure file. So the first step the client is doing, he is trying to authenticate against the domain controller. So first thing is send username and password to domain controller in some encrypted way. So the username and password are not in clear text, so are encrypted with some hash. Domain controller pick this information, can match in his database, can find the username, the correct username is database, and matching the hash password. So when once this part is complete, is done, it means the client is authenticated. After the client is authenticated, the domain controller send back to the client two messages. Two messages are this one. So the first message is TGT. In TGT, we have some client information, we have the time, and we have also the session key. Session key is generated using the client private key, so that's why I designed here in red. And this session key is an information specific special key is used to let's communicate in encrypted way the client and the domain controller. So the entire TGT with this information is encrypted using the domain controller key. So this information is totally dark for the client. So the client get this message and he cannot access to the message because it's totally encrypted. But also along with this message there is another one that contains this session key. This message is encrypted with the client key. So that means the client now has the TGT where he cannot access, but he has the session key because he can decrypt this message using his own key. After got this message, this information are cached. The client can send a request to the domain controller regarding a ticket, a service ticket to authenticate against the file server. Then the client will send to domain controller the SPN, so the information regarding the service, the service he won't try to connect. So this SPN or other information. And along with that, we'll send the TGT he has got from the previous authentication. So the entire TGT is attached in the message. So I don't know what is it, but I will send the TGT and the SPN. Also, along with this message, the client will send another message with the client information, the time, and this one now is encrypted with the session key the domain controller has sent during the previous authentication. Now the domain controller can get this information. The first message he is able to decrypt because it's encrypted with his key, and then he can access to the TGT, can have access to the client information, to the time, and to the session key the client have used to send the other message. So pick this information, this key, decrypt the second message, pick the information internal to this message, and try to match. If this information is matching, so it means the client is the one have sent the client is sending this service ticket request is a client is already authenticated in the previous step. After that, domain controller can reply to the client with 2 more messages. So we'll send the service ticket, the client have request before, and this service request there are some client information, the time, and there is also a service a session key generated from the file server key. This service ticket is encrypted using the file server key and is sent to the client. Again, as the TGT, the client picks this service ticket and he stored locally and has no access, has no clue what is it inside because it's encrypted using the file server private key. He has no access. But there is another message, and there is the session key used from the client to the servers, and this session key is encrypted using the session key we have generated in the previous authentication, as you see by color. So this session key is the one generated to talk client to server. This session key is generated to talk client to domain controller. Then now the client can decrypt this message because he owns this session key from the previous authentication, and then can access to the session key to the server. The other one is stored as it is. Now the client can send the authentication request to the file server. How is it doing? Now it can send the service ticket, the entire service ticket he has picked from the previous message. Along with this message, we'll send another message, the client and time, and this time is this information is encrypted using the session key generated to talk a client to the server. The server now can pick the service ticket, can decrypt this information because it's encrypted using his key, can access to this information, pick a client, time, and the session key used to talk a client and file server. Now, with this session key, he can decrypt the second message, pick the client and time, and then he can match. If this information matching, it means the client is trying to connect to this one is the same client has done the entire protocol, the entire flow, as connected, as authenticated already before with domain controller and request the right ticket. After that, if everything is matching, also the time and so on, the file server can authenticate the request from the client, and then finally can respond to the client with a message using just timestamp, and then encrypt this timestamp using the session key between the client and server. The client can decrypt this message because he owns this session key, and then access, then validate the time, and then the authentication is done. That's it. Simple. 5 minutes, and then this is how is working the Kerberos authentication. So I hope you have enjoyed. If you have any question, please feel free to reach me out. Thank you. Bye.